expected from a Friday movie, but yeah, it's got that like high techness to it because you never had that in the older movies, which I think is what needed to be done in this movie. You got a few kills and some of them are okay, whatever, but it's those like high tech, unique situation ones that like drop Jason into a native environment and have the kills be native to that environment. That's I think one of the better ones in the movie.
I love when the guy gets his arm chopped off and then they just regrow it.
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And then also, alright, so aside from our homeboy from Jason Goes to Hell who spears Kane Hodder through a glass window, has there ever been a tougher Friday the 13th character than Sergeant Brodsky?
Boy, that's hard. I think you probably talk about Creighton Duke, but Creighton Duke was more like all talk and no walk, because by the time he gets face to face with Jason, he gets his like back cracked and he's killed. But no, Brodsky's the man. Brodsky rules.
I mean, he has my favorite line in the movie when, what does he say? You can't kill me. And then that ought to do it.
Oh yeah. Well, he gets impaled and he's like, you think that's going to be enough to whatever kill me? And Jason sticks him another time. He goes, yep, that'll do it.
And then he comes back, and I know they have their big showdown, but their big showdown is them walking into each other.
Yeah, that's a really awkward cut, too, because you obviously... there's a lot going on, right? There's explosions, and you're expecting them to duke it out, but they walk into each other in such a way that was so clearly made for them to say, okay, cut. And when they, run into each other, they don't do anything, actually.
It was like those guys at a bar who don't want to hit each other, and they just sort of bump chests. You hit me. Do you think they did that for a little bit?
Oh, yeah, like the aggressive, like, maybe make out scenes.
Yeah. So they just kind of bump chests. Come on, hit me.
You think that's what they did? Like, bro, you want to make out with me, and put like their face in their face.
I mean, well, Brodsky couldn't take off his helmet, so it would have killed him. Maybe they just said, you know what I'd do to you if I didn't have this helmet on.
Perhaps. Yeah, I mean, by that point, they both have helmets, and yeah, I'll get into it later, but Jason's helmet ain't my favorite, that's for damn sure.
Now, why is hockey outlawed in 2024?
I don't know, but I kind of love it, and it's interesting because, like, you'd think if they're going to outlaw it, maybe just outlaw the fighting in it, because I'm guessing that's why. Or maybe there was some really traumatic incident where there was a fight on the ice, but one of the guys took off his shoe and used the blade to, like, kill somebody, in which case they might as well be Jason. Maybe they had their own, like, Jason on the team, and they just got a little mad one day.
Speaking of Michael Myers from Halloween H2O, he stabbed someone in the face with a ice skate.
That's right, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character.
Now, I just want to say something. The podcast before this is called Youngblood, and if you haven't listened to it, my friend pitched it to me, and it's a hockey movie starring Rob Lowe as a good hockey player becoming a fighter. And in the movie, Patrick Swayze gets his head hurt. So maybe that's the beginning of the end for hockey, was the head injuries. I
mean, I don't know what kind of timeline we're looking at for that kind of thing. It seems a bit anachronistic, but perhaps, yeah.
So we did a movie that you can't rent and you can't stream. You have to buy. That's very MFF, isn't it?
Yeah, that's on brand. Very on brand.
It is. All right, so, I mean, I love that they said that hockey was outlawed. So these are students in space, right? And why are Marines with them?
Students in space.
Why do they have Marines?
'Cause kids are stupid and they need to be protected. Also, I think if you have any space endeavor, whatever that may be, like clearly an alien, it was just trash, right? Or whatever the hell they were doing. Like, this is going to be an alien on board, and it's going to kill everyone. So, actually, that reminds me, like, the teacher, right? The smarmy-ass teacher who's trying to profit from Jason. Like, I don't know. There's a difference between loving homage and blatant ripoff of Paul Reiser's character in Aliens and, working for the Weyland-Yutani company. But that was, like, straight up, talking on the monitor with his company and saying he's going to make a lot of money and bringing the specimen back for research and how valuable it is. Like, I mean, I guess it makes sense for the story, so I won't fight it too much, but it's like, they just couldn't 8 Paul Reiser, enough in that.
And now, the guy made a comment, too, when he woke him up. And the guy goes, what do you got, another box of DVDs?
Oh, right, yeah.
So, were people finding boxes of DVDs 455 years from now? Or
Well,
wait, 440 years from now?
yeah, it was like 430. I don't know about DVDs, but when it comes to like PS2 discs,
Yeah.
those things have a horrible half-life. Like they start to deteriorate after like 10, 15 years, I think. And I don't want to do the math because I'm too lazy, but if those are dying out that quickly, I'm pretty sure any DVD discs aren't lasting 430 some years, much less 100 years.
Now, I know it's only been, 25 years, 26 years since discs came out, maybe 30. But if I found a Roadhouse Laserdisc, I'd buy it. I'd never watch it, but I'd like to have it. Do you think that's what people would go for with these DVDs?
Well, you're asking a loaded question. Like, is that a collector item that would be highly prized, or is that something that you just, I don't know. I don't know if that fetches a price in 20, 40, 35, whatever. But, I mean, yeah, people still collect that stuff today. And I don't know if it's on par with vinyl, but there's definitely a community of idiots out there who think laser discs are cool.
Now, AV Club posted an article saying one of the stores that sell stuff for kids, teenagers in early 20s, they're selling VHS tapes now.
Yes, and that's true. The Urban Outfitters example is very wild because you go in there and I don't, maybe you do, somebody does, some poor soul pays like $25 for a 4-pack of VHS tapes that I guarantee you your boomer parents have somewhere in the attic and look way more authentic and crusty. And I get it. That aesthetic, it rules. Like, I'm all about that. And I don't even know if Jason X, do you know if Jason X made it to VHS? I think that was just on the cusp of the death of VHS. I know Jason Goes to Hell had a VHS release because I very vividly recall that in Blockbuster, but I don't know if Jason X got the same treatment.
All right, so I bought my first DVD player. I saved up $238 in 2000, and I bought a DVD player in 2000. That's when DVDs were still $30, right? Because Deep Blue Sea was the first DVD I bought. And Analyze This, for some reason, it makes no sense. But at the time, they were still phasing out VHS cassettes. So maybe in 2002, it's possible that they would have released that because there aren't always those early adopters.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah. I don't know. I know the VHS tapes that I had, I mean, I still keep them. I wore the hell out of them, but in terms of what I collect now, I've moved on to Blu-ray, and I have way too many DVD discs.
I just put them all on Vudu for $2. You can do disc to digital. So then if you need to get rid of your DVDs that don't have good commentaries.
Is that $2 a pop?
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, just set up Vudu, and then some of them don't, some of them do. But if you're looking to get rid of them, at least check. That way you can have it on a digital collection. It's $5 for HD, $2 for SD, but you have it on DVD anyway, so it is SD.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting topic, the idea of physical media, because I, for one, collect a lot of Criterion stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the idea of a library, and I like showing that off and displaying it. And I don't know if that'll ever truly go out of style, but
I just bought Notorious.
Oh, that's great. What a great pick.
Favorite Hitchcock movie.
Yep.
I love that. All right, so back to Jason. Why do space pilots always wear cowboy hats or have Texas accents?
I'm so happy you mentioned that because, and I know I mentioned Aliens and Alien before, but it's a kind of funny precursor, right, to even Alien Covenant, right, where Danny McBride plays the cowboy pilot, schlubby type, and the guy in this movie, I might be wrong, you can correct me on this, his name is Crotch.
Yep.
Like, just didn't even want to get inventive with that one. Like, this guy's a total sleaze. Let's name him Crotch. And I don't know. That's a good question. It is. I'm almost positive that's what they call him. And you're right. It's a very strange thing. I guess you're like, okay, we got to give this guy a personality or a type. What's the kind of type of guy who wants to like pilot a big ship? But, you know, he wouldn't be your expected pick, right? He's not Denise Richards in Starship Troopers, right? He's probably like a bus driver type.
Yeah. And his name is Crutch, by the way.
Yeah, his name is Crotch. And it could be Crutch. But I'm pretty sure if you're going that route, it's Crotch.
Also, Idris Elba in Prometheus has the largest Texas accent I've ever heard in my life. And he plays a harmonica.
That's fine, and that's a good point. And he doesn't have the cowboy aesthetic going, but he has parts of it. He has those elements, right? And I think that's probably more important than somebody who looks like Danny McBride wearing a cowboy hat.
Do you think Slim Pickens from Dr. Strangelove set the precedent?
I don't know if he was the first, but he could have been, and that would have been a good original to model off of. That makes sense.
This is why I love my podcast, because we just talked about Notorious, Jason X, Alien Covenant, Prometheus, and Doctor Strangelove in 2 minutes.
Almost all in the same breath. And there is an interesting bit to Crotch's dialogue that I couldn't help but ponder, and this is probably something that you were going to get into, and I would be surprised if you hadn't. But here's what I'm thinking: as somebody who runs this pod, you as Mark Hoffmeyer, hear the line, "You should have been around for the Microsoft conflict. We were basically beating each other with our own limbs." Huh?
Sounds like, all right, all the power went out, right? And electricity, all that went down. Bullets became hard to find, and it just became like a Stalingrad situation where, you know, the Germans and Russians battled for buildings block by block, sometimes using hand-to-hand combat in very close quarters. Sometimes a wall is all but separated them. So I envision it like a Stalingrad-esque battle.
All right, fine, whatever. But how did this cause? Like, what? Microsoft suddenly has a monopoly on all energy and power?
Skynet.
Oh, so, okay. But okay. What? Let's just assume Bill Gates is, like, still running the show, even though even at that time he wasn't. Like, the conflict. There's a conflict. So people were fighting for resources? Is that it? Like, scrounging for internet connectivity? Maybe that's it. Maybe they were, like, fighting over bandwidth or something. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting throwaway line.
I mean, fighting with their own. So are they? All right, so they're face punching and they're kick punching. Are they? Are they hitting people with their own arm? I mean, technically, you're hitting people with your fist, but you're not hitting someone with your own. You'd have to have your arm blown off to hit someone with your own fist.
I mean, I think he's certainly using hyperbole when he's saying we're beating each other with our own limbs, but it does sound like an act of desperation in a time where that's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know what caused this conflict, so.
Maybe that's why people went to space.
I mean, maybe it was like a Windows Apple conflict.
I mean, people get very angry when Facebook goes out. Imagine it in 200 years.
I don't think it'll be around in 200 years.
No, I'm saying the equivalent. So right now, if Twitter goes down for 10 minutes, people become like the news announcers from SNL who no longer have their cue cards. They just go crazy. I don't know if you ever remember that skit with people just going nuts.
Uh-huh.
I think that's it. People just went nuts, took to the streets. They can't in 200 years, they can't. All right, well, let's see.
Maybe they just didn't have access to word processor or something.
Well,
no PowerPoint.
Remember in Infinite Jest? In Infinite Jest, they developed this thing with people could only talk via camera. And so people started spending hours a day getting ready to speak on camera. And they would work out and get buff and buy clothes. They would buy filters. And eventually they bought stand-ins without heads, just with a lot of muscles. So you look jacked when you were talking to people on camera. And it got to the point that was so bad that they had to go back to phones, and that caused a huge issue. So maybe it's something Infinite Jest-esque.
I don't know, but if you just save me from reading like 3,000 pages, then thank you, I guess.
So the book, right?